Hey everyone, it is October 31st, according to the computer, if you need a calendar date. This is Cindy. This is the hour that we've entitled Sharing the Word. And we are reading Resurrection together. And what we tend to do, something just happened to the computer, is we begin with oh, that was here. We begin with a clip from Paul Selig in the guides. So let's start there. Here we go.
Paul is seeing a spiral-bound notebook with the pages flying from them, as if they have been caught in a wind. The old blue binder with the large hoops, with the paper punched holes through in the hoops, is being moved, and what is coming in its place is other, a realization of other. Now, it is not a rule book any more than the old binder held rules. The old binder held the assumption of what should be, or better said, presumption based on hereditary structures, what was claimed by others, the notes you took in your history class that held the bias of the conquering country, the things you were taught in science that have already been seen as untrue or outmoded, the idea of what language was and how it should be spoken, and the idea of what things must be in outer space based on the very, very, very small glimpses humanity has had. Your comprehension of what fills that notebook, the old agendas, the old equations, the old ways of understanding the self in consort with history, with science, with religion, with language, all are being moved into a new wind. Now, indeed, what comes in its place is other, and what comes in its place he is seeing as golden. And he asks, why do I see this? It feels like a book or a tract or something solid and golden. Indeed, the image that you are seeing is the impression of knowing that has been held throughout time. And the knowing that has been held throughout time is becoming available because it exists in the higher template where it can be accessed. To rise to the upper room where this becomes available, where you may experience this, would be to understand that while you have done your best through the times you have known with the information you have had, what we are showing Paul, golden, embossed, writing, image, structure, is actually predating the ideas that you hold of time and what can be known through linear ideas of historical data or structure. This is not from the pyramids. This is not from your idea of Atlantis. This is actually a precursor to all ideas. When you align in the upper room and you become aware, and underline the word aware, it simply means conscious of what expresses there. Wisdom is actually present, and true knowing is actually present. And there are indeed things that have been precluded from humanity's knowing over the centuries and centuries and centuries. Buried deep in sand, buried beneath the very bottom of an ocean floor. The old information and the old teachings, while present, actually in all ways hold the key to the very civilizations you have created. And these keys that initially created civilization were intended to create civilization in the highest way possible and in the upper room. And throughout the times, the epochs, the millennia, throughout the ideas of time and space that you have utilized, beyond countries come and gone, geographic shifts and floods and comets and all of the things that have supported humanity in its idea of history, this was always present, and it is being resurrected along with the monad. Those of you who think that there will be no instructions in the upper room will become confused here. While indeed you are operating in high knowing, and you are realizing yourself in an equivalency beyond the old textbooks or old rule books, you are still present as a gift of the source of all things, come in form and come with ability to reclaim the manifest world in high tone. The reclamation of the manifest world in high tone is what is the instruction of this gold brick, this gold template, this gold thing that he sees with the letters and the symbols embossed upon it and carved within it. The requirements of each epoch or each time that humanity may comprehend itself anew is always the gift of initial wisdom. And the initial wisdom you might understand as beyond your idea of religion and beyond your idea of other life forms, because you seek to attach these things in ways that will give them merit or perhaps you can comprehend. What you're actually going to be receiving is the innate knowing that is in some ways what you might consider the DNA of civilization and the species itself. And the species, humanity, operating in harmony, in consort with all other things created. If you understand metaphor and you understand the idea of Eden as a perfect state of union that humanity perhaps once knew, you must understand that even in this idea of Eden, there was an awareness of requirements of growth and form. And these things actually were gifted immediately as they were required to be known. The idea of Eden was not about maintaining ignorance. It was about maintaining innocence. And the monad is innocence in its most perfect state. You will have heard it said that the Christ, or what you think of as the Christ, was born without sin. And indeed, if you understand the Christ as principle, you can understand that the monad, the divine spark within you, the Christ within you, the flame that burns inside your heart, is without sin because it must be, and indeed has always been. To move to this level of innocence is not to be ignorant, is not know how to speak or make a fire or build a shelter, but it is to be in the eternal now when you may be in recipients of your requirements or needs. To be the recipient of one's requirements or needs is to be in a constant state of receptivity to source. We used a metaphor of a woman holding up her apron to catch the rain, and in that apron what she required was present, was made so. And this is the same metaphor we offer you now about moving to the immediacy of presence and being in, of, and with source in the upper room. I am in the upper room. I have come. Behold, I make all things new. It will be so. God is, God is, God is. And God is the claim of all things presence, all things being, all things of source. I am in God, I am of God, I am with God, which holds all of the other attunements within the structure and the sound of the claim and its intention for you each.
I can tell you that my nervous system is shaking. There's a physical response. We've heard this before. We listened to this entire channeling together and talked about this golden tablet. Is there anyone that would like to share anything about what we just listened to?
I'm kind of speechless. I don't think I've heard that before. If I have, I didn't remember hearing it. And I'm wondering if this is part of the new teaching. It's pretty amazing. I mean, what I felt like was, I want to be a part of that. That's really exciting to me. I had a dream once where it was very short, but I woke up and in the dream, I woke up. I wasn't human. I was I was a primate, but I wasn't human. And I remember feeling like, wow, it's morning. And I was living in a tree, and I just came down and sat on this very broad limb of the tree. It was close to the ground. It was very broad and smooth and really lovely. And I can remember thinking, what am I going to do today? And I just was so happy to have woken up. I had nothing but a really pleasant feeling and excitement. And I was by myself in the dream, but I didn't feel lonely. I felt like there were others all around me. And I remember when I woke up from the dream thinking, I want to be in that place. That's where I want to be. Like, if I can imagine that in a dream, it must exist. This dream was probably 50 years ago. But like most things that are really true, I use that word because I don't know what other word to use. It stayed with me, the feeling of it, the knowing of it. And what Paul just channeled makes me feel that way. It brings that back to me. And it's like, I've often thought, I don't want to come back. I don't want to be a part of whatever it is that's going to be happening. I'm ready to just go and not be in form anymore. But that actually made me feel like, yeah, that sounds really fun. That sounds really healing, you know. And for those of us who have been in form and seen and felt and struggled with all of the difficulties that manifestation requires, I think it might be really enjoyable for us to come back and actually experience what it could be in the upper room and have that experience together. Like, I'd love to come back with all of you and have that experience and recognize you and be in joy with you. That's how it left me. And now
Anybody else like to talk about their experience with that?
I will. I listen to everything he puts out. I'm noticing that we're at Friday, and this has been a intense week, and I've already had a full morning. And so, as I'm saying all that because I sat down, I ended up in with Awakening together somehow, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not in the right place. And there was an impulse to stay there. Then I was like, no, this is not where we were supposed to be this morning. So I came just in time for the tape. I've just sat here and listened to that entire thing with all of you. I can only remember the receiving of it energetically. Right now, as I sit, I can't even find any words or any of his words, but just this fullness in the center of my chest and down through me. And it's just I'm in this place of being really curious because I listen well normally. But the rest of me was listening better today. I know that I received it. I feel myself not only being held by it, but also in the holding of it myself. And I'm smiling about this. Interestingly, I don't remember a word of it, but think I received the attunement because every word he speaks is vibration.
So I just want to add, because I was listening to the newest channeling this morning that we'll probably listen to on Monday. But there's a part of it that showed up, I think, in this 10 minutes about the spark in the center of the chest. And a woman was asking a question in what was channeled on Wednesday, and she was talking about how she was feeling this heat, and was asking, is this what you're talking, is this what the guides talk about when they talk about the flame in the chest? And the response was from the guides directly was yes, and welcome home.
And this is what has me so flying by the seat of my pants this week. The piece that I wrote Monday morning is about this flame that's in my chest. I've not heard what you're talking about, but this is kind of freaky at this point, and I use that in the best possible terms because what I'm experiencing this week is literally as I step out of one of these meetings and sit in meditation with whatever it is, somehow in that next meeting, wherever it is, whatever questions come up here are answered there. And I'm noticing this and I'm like, whoa, this is like some immediate feedback here. But I no longer experience difference as something wrong. I no longer go there first. So I'm just so excited just about this place of curiosity. And I hear you and thank you because that part that I wrote about that the what was going on in my chest, I was like, you're friggin' losing it. Thank you.
Welcome home, Lonnie. Does anybody else want to say anything before? Okay. So, who would like to read?
I just want to just chime in. What Cindy and I are going to do this morning is I'm going to take down who wants to read, and Indigo was first up when we left off last week, and I said I'd remind us if she wants to start off, and we're on page 58 right at the top of the page, just so that you can get yourself situated. And Indigo, I don't know if you can hear me, but anyone who wants to read this morning, raise your hand and I'll take names, and then Cindy's going to help facilitate this morning, as she always does, but she's taking Sandra's place. You could call her Sandra instead of Cindy this morning. So who wants to read? Just raise your hand.
What's going to be the start of the first paragraph on that page? I'm on a device, so I'm close to the
okay.
pages.
Sure. Now some of you believe that if this happens, there must be turmoil. Okay. So wherever Indigo is, she'll read if she's not ready right now. Who wants to read?
Well, I can always read.
Okay, Cindy, I'll read. Anybody else want to read?
I'm always open to reading, as long as my device hangs out with me.
Okay,
And
Patricia
Patricia's hands up.
and Lonnie. So Patricia and Lonnie. And anybody else? I think that'll probably cover it. We'll see how far we get. Cindy, do you want to start out?
I can.
Okay.
Now, some of you believe that if this happens, there must be turmoil. Revolution and turmoil are different. To be in a revolution is to be in a change or transition. Paul is seeing something moving in rotation. It is revolving. It is presenting to the new from a new vantage point.
Mhm.
Imagine there was a turntable that could leave you in a different door than you first entered. This is revolution. But the manifestation of such revolution is actually to reclaim what was denied God in God. And the claim, God is, God is, God is, the act of reclamation in tone and choice, the perceiving of what is ever true, is the revolution itself. The claim, God is, God is, God is revolution itself. It is revolutionary. And the change it instigates, or the reclamation it enforces, cannot be limited. Any one of you can reclaim what has been denied the divine through this intention and through this invocation. It is an invocation, yes. But finally, it is what you are participatory to as you become the doorway and claim what you see and lift it by nature of presence and being. I want to read one sentence again because I watched something inside me try to give it a different meaning. While I was reading it, there was a tug of war going on. It says, any one of you can reclaim what has been denied the divine through this intention and through this invocation. I was watching something inside of me say, yeah, you're screwing it up. By your choice, you're limiting God. Like I heard that while I was reading this, and then it was like, no, that's not what it's saying. It's saying that when I stay present in this moment and I see something in myself or in the world that has a flavor of fear, through God is, God is, God is, I, whatever I am, can reclaim it in the upper room. When Amy was talking about, oh, I want to be a part of that. This is an invitation when we were listening to the 10 minutes. This one line is sending chills in my space. Oh, the guides are saying, I, whatever I am, I can do this. I can do this. And yeah, so that's what's here. Is there anything anybody wants to add or say or share?
That's something that's become my mantra, especially when I'm out in the world. And there's a lot of I live in Florida, where there's a lot of opinions and a lot of, you're going to believe what I believe, blah, 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 a lot of upheaval here and there. And it's become this mantra that just starts as soon as I encounter the energy. God is, God is, God is, because it drops me right into the center of the energy of love. And no matter what I'm facing when that happens, when I drop into that place of love, there's nothing that shifts me out of that I say that can touch me. But all I can do is emit love at that point. And it's just in that repetition, that mantra almost internally of just God is, God is. It keeps me grounded and centering. And it also lets me see them for who they are. About 3 years ago, I went to what do you call those things? It's where you go into this hut and there's fire and
A
it's an,
sauna?
uh, say it?
A sauna? All right.
No, the Native American,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't think of what
Sweat
it's
lodge.
called.
Sweat lodge.
Sweat
A sweat
lodge.
lodge.
Yeah.
My first sweat lodge was with a Blackfoot medicine man. And when he asked in prayer, what is it you're here for? The words I heard were reclamation, and that's the words that came out. In this moment, I realized this is what had been denied, and this is what I was in reclamation of in that moment. And as I've walked forward from there. And so that's very loud in my system now, right here with this piece. PIECE and PEACE.
Okay, I'll take it up if we're ready to go. All right. Rearticulation of form and matter happens first at the individual level. The higher you align, the more translucent you become, which means the more light shines through you. And the light that shines through you reclaims what it encounters. You will see this in your lifetimes because this work has begun. When you say, yes, I have come, you agree to the journey before you. Rearticulation is a journey, but the manifestation of this is not understood until it is done. And we say done, not to say that there is an ending, but that there is a moment when the system itself is in rotation or embarking in its new expression through the doorway that is now before it. Wow. Yeah. So that was kind of takes off right from where Cindy was, looking at herself as an individual, like, can I do this? Yes, I can. And then it answered that right there. Rearticulation of form and matter happens at the individual level first. And you will see this in your lifetimes because the work has begun. One of the sentences that stood out for me, in addition to those two, was, but the manifestation is not understood until it is done. And that says to me, This reminds me of Richard and what are the qualities of a teacher of God, and one of the first is trust. Right? So we trust until it's verified, but this is saying it will be verified, but it won't be verified until after it's done. It's an interesting way of looking at it.
Get a little excited inside every time they talk about a doorway or an open doorway or walking through the doorway or the door.
All right. The next reader up is Patricia.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You are engaging now in an act of creation and the release of the old that has been coming at the level of the individual and the collective will continue while this happens. I'd like to read that again. You are engaging now in an act of creation and the release of the old that has been coming at the level of the individual and the collective will continue while this happens. Each of you says yes to this act of being, this expression of knowing, this choice of lifting. Oof. In ensuing chapters, we will tell you what you may encounter. But for now, we only say the great work is in progress. We are pleased, and we speak you into being our claim of truth for you. God is, God is, God is. You may stop for now. Thank you for your presence. Yes, this is the text. Period, period, period.
You want to keep reading?
I can, sure. Question. In some of the books or in the lectures, the guides say that at some level, we already did our homework before becoming students of the guides. How much is it about allowing and remembering all of the experiences perhaps most of us have already had in other parallel lifetimes? And how much is learning something new? The answer, both are always true. In fact, the soul that you are chooses this and has been in preparation for this, so that much, we will say, is accurate. We will not speak to parallel lives here, or even past life preparation, because you are asking this in some way by saying, how many more pages are there until I have done with this book and I can say I have mastered it? Each of you says yes to the level of journey that you will undergo in a lifetime. The learning that we offer you through the teachings, we gift you with are in some ways permission to remember, in some ways permission to go beyond what you believed could be. The aspect of you that already knows the truth, which is the true self or the monad, is seeking its expression through you. When you go to the God within, you will find the answers there. There is no finish line to race to, and the learning will progress because indeed you are here to learn, period. Thank you for the question. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
So a thought came up as I was listening about we've been talking in other meetings about time not being fundamental. There's something behind it. And this idea of past lives and future lives is all time dependent. And this idea of a past life, linear timelines, there's just something stirring in here about what is it here that insists that my past lives happened before this one? And what happens if I consider the idea or the pointing that linear time is not fundamental and that it's all just happening now? And there's a kind of weird physical sensation to that. So, and kind of a head foggy thing that's happening, something in this sense of a body in form and in time seems to be attempting to pull me away from that question. So it's just something I'm saying out loud, wondering if anyone has anything to add to that for this.
No, what comes up for me is the thing that he said in the beginning, which is it's like a revolution, like a record. And what we see is just one point on the record, and we call that the present. But it's all circular, and it's also multidimensional, so it's all happening all at once. Everywhere, everything everywhere all at once. All infinite expression. And Dago, Lonnie's going to read, and then will you read after Lonnie?
And Dago can read first because she missed her time last time. I can wait.
Okay. And Dago, do you know where we are?
No, I don't. Tell me again.
Okay. We are on page 60. Do you have a book or do you have a Kindle?
Yeah, let me get it. Just give me a second.
Okay.
In the meantime, can I just say my favorite part of this little passage is where they say you are engaging now in an act of creation. And it's just that right there, that in every moment, we literally are engaging in an act of creation. Just from that moment of presence. For me, it's just such a freeing thing. I used to say all the time, the only thing that we need to look back for is to see how far we've come. I've recently learned that sometimes there's a need to go back for whatever it was we left there, thinking that if we leave all that there, none of it's there anymore. But sometimes there are little gifts and gems in looking back that perhaps will help us in the walk forward. So, yeah.
That may remind me of your remembering your mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's been walking energetically very strong with me this week.
So I just wanted just to share. I had a seizure. I think it was maybe like a month or weeks ago. So I was in a hospital. I don't remember. I don't have any recollection of it. So now my sister, who's a doctor, they're just like making sure that was when I had my brain injury. That's what I had. So they're just making sure that everything is okay, or they're just checking. They're just making sure everything's okay. But you know what? Honestly, I'm just like, whatever's whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and it's perfect exactly as it is. And we're not in charge anyway. That's how I see it. And I know that everything is God and everything is here for us. So that's how I see it. I don't need to understand it or I can just trust it, whatever's happening. Um, so so anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Indigo. Thank you. We've
And
all
we're-
been thinking about you, and we're really so happy that you're here and that you've joined us. Yeah. So where are we? We are on page 60, right in the pretty much in the middle with that first question. Ask the guides to please define.
Okay. Ask the guides to please define when they use the word love. What does it mean? The idea of love has been so confused by most of you that you would make it a daily and applique on it a card or a pillow. True love is God. It is knowing. It is compassion. It is the act of creation itself. It is not an emotion, although you confuse it as such. Love is the action of God as love. But love is also present in wisdom and in truth. There are many faces of the divine and many ways it can be accessed. To know God as love is to know love incarnate. To become as love incarnate is to be the Christ who manifests as love. Period, period, period. So for me, it's just everything is love. And just to sit with it and bring it in. It's everything. That's what we are. And I think that's why I trust everything. Because I know everything is here for me. And I love all of it, and I love all of you, and I love everything because everything is love. We just don't always remember, but when we can just stop for a minute and get quiet. I love to put my hand on my heart. I know immediately. And that's all I want. And I just love being here with all of you. It's just such a blessing for me anyway.
Thank you, Indigo. Alka.
I just wanted to add that when I heard the term that the universe is made of love, I didn't quite understand it because I was confusing love with an emotion. And this really explains what love really is. And from here I can understand when people say love, that the universe is made of love. It makes sense to me from this description. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. This also really reminds me of the non-dual teachings. They don't use the word many faces of the divine, but there are many attributes of the truth. And the attributes of truth are beauty and goodness and creativity. So just thought I'd mention that. Anything, it seems to me, that feels right is an attribute of love. So laughter is an attribute of love. Humor is an attribute of love, right? Many, many attributes. Lonnie.
For so many years, this word was so confusing, so triggering, so something I almost wanted to avoid because it was so scary. And I just couldn't understand it because I was viewing it through a lens of looking out at other people. And the expressions that were coming back at me felt nothing like, in some place in my knowing, it didn't make sense. And I was just so confused by it, but so drawn to it. And I went through a period of asking questions, asking questions, asking questions. Until finally I got to this place of saying, well, since I can't figure it out from what's coming out there, maybe I can figure it out from what's coming in here. And it took me, really, it was in meditation, but it took me to this thing of, I wonder if I can just be love. This is before any of this sitting in the rooms with you all or any of that started. I wonder if I can just be love. And when I would say it to people, that Scooby-Doo look I talk about would show up because they're like, what the hell are you talking about? But it really wasn't until I decided I would not let anything stop me, but I would only be curious about exploring how that would be, what that would feel like, what it would be like. And the biggest part of it was untethering from the old definitions, from the beliefs I had been taught to believe, and to allow myself to open beyond those into really the truth of what it was, that it goes so far beyond what I had been taught. So I'm now in a place where when I say I love something, I am the love of that. It's not an action that I'm putting out. It's a base of energy that I can literally feel pulsing through me like that.
We know it when we see it, right? We know it when we feel it. Yeah. Patricia.
Yeah, this feels like a continuation of what we were talking about yesterday with Vinny. that sense that this lifetime is an opportunity, it's a teaching, and it can be trusted. We're students, and it can be trusted. And love is. Because if God is, love is. And to know that we can trust, because we can trust in this life as teacher. It's not out to hurt us. We don't need to be afraid. we can just move forward and move forward into the experience of being loving. No matter what happens, I was thinking about an experience yesterday. Got my computer fixed, but it came back all in Spanish. Oh, well. So I have to take it back. They didn't do it on purpose. At first I said, damn, they should have known better. Well, I'm sounding like an entitled American. And there are a lot of them around here. And I thought to myself, no, this is what they did. I can bring it back and they can take care of it. It wasn't intentional. So I come with that attitude. I trust. And that is so important because I trust in the I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. That's beautiful.
Brene Brown years ago in one of her pieces talked about when you're in a loving relationship or interaction or friendship. And I kind of am doing this with the divine, that loving interaction and engagement, that it's safe to make the assumption that whatever that other or that thing that you're in relationship with, that in its action and being just who and what it is, none of what happens, if it's a loving, truly loving relationship, is being done to harm you. And it's a safe assumption to be made because whatever the other is doing is all about them and them being exactly who they are. But we so quickly, because we're in a loving relationship, think, well, this person's hurting me. But if it's truly an open and loving relationship, there is no hurting, there's only being. And the being of another is it's not there to harm you. So it just kind of stood out to me because that's such a big part for me of letting go of the old definitions of what love is supposed to be.
Mm.
The divine does not give us what it gives us to cause us dis-ease. It is all for us to learn and grow from and through. Or we don't design it to create it.
Lonnie, do you want to continue reading?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Question. They talked about translucency and going from singular to plurality. I would love for them to speak to that. Answer. The idea of translucency must be understood. You are not becoming invisible. In some ways, you are becoming porous, which means that even the cells of the body are transmitting light, and the space between the cells is calling God to itself. In some ways, translucency means there is less density or denial of the divine to prohibit expression. The divine as who and what you are is always true, even at the most dense level of expression when you cannot imagine the light. But to lift to the light and become as one with the light while in form implies that the body itself is in a position to be a receptacle or a lantern. Now the soul is what is becoming illumined, but the divine self operating through the soul is this light, and the body is all part of the process of realization. You have been taught that you would align to the divine self in some other universe, in some imagined heaven. And while there is no density as you know it here, beyond death, even that plane holds dense vibration. To become the light while embodied is quite simply the agreement to know heaven and earth while in form. Period, period, period. I had a student once who swore to me that there was none of the divine in her. It was in our first meeting. And I just kind of sat back and breathed, and what came forward was, one day you'll be sitting on a bench sometime after this, and in the distance, somebody will see a light, and they're going to say, "What's that light?" And they're going to start walking toward the light. And as they get closer and closer, it's going to get brighter and brighter. And they might try to throw rocks at it to see if they can knock it off. They might try to shoot at it to see if they could explode it. They might try to kick it or do whatever they can, but it won't be until they sit next to it and engage their curiosity that they'll fully understand it. You're going to be that light one day. And she looked at me and she said, "You're fucking crazy." 2 years ago, she called me and she said, "They won't stop coming." I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "I don't know why they're coming, but people are coming and asking and giving me opportunities to open to them and for them." I said, "Maybe they see the light." She says, "That's all I can think of." So yeah, this is so true, that illuminating. And my device just went brown. So I'm not supposed to read anymore, apparently. Yeah, I can't even get my device to come back on right now.
Wow. Well, it was perfect. We all got exactly what we needed, right? You're still here?
Yeah,
Oh my
I take
goodness.
it that way, that that was all I was supposed to read since it went black.
Okay. Well, we can still hear you, so you can still comment.
I think she's just, Lonnie, you're just talking about your Kindle, right? Lonnie
Yeah.
can still see us. She just can't see the words.
Yeah. Well, does anybody else want to read? William, do you want to
Oh,
read?
Alka
Okay.
said yes.
Alka. All right, Alka. And then anyone else who wants to read, don't hesitate. We're all relying on each other here.
William can go first.
Well, William didn't raise his hand. I just called on him. But if he wants to read,
He's got his mic turned on.
Yesterday, they referred to the divine self working through the soul, and I'm curious if they could elaborate on this. The soul is the aspect of self that incarnates for the purpose of learning and ultimately to the goal of reuniting with Source in realization. If you think of the divine self as the eternal self and of God always, it is this light that illuminates the soul, and in some ways you can say eradicates karma or realizes all things that have been known in separation in the high odor of love. So the monad, or present in the soul, is not the soul. If you imagine a light in a lantern, the lantern is not light, but it holds the light. And as the light is broadcast, the lantern itself becomes the expression of the light. Period, period, period. And just listening to Lonnie, man, she is like a lighthouse. And that's what comes to me is that when the me doesn't show up and the being is just there, that's when everyone can see it or not, depending on where they're at. But what I listened to Lonnie is that her light is so bright that it's hard to not be affected by it. It's like her candles, it just lit lights everywhere. So I just appreciate so much. I love listening to it.
Thank you, William. Do you want to keep reading?
I just
Uh,
have a question
Ah,
before he carries on reading. I didn't quite get the monad while present in the soul is not the soul. I don't get that.
mm.
Is somebody going to answer that, or shall I explore it further?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. Does anybody want to take a stab
Well,
at?
oh, Lonnie, you want to do it?
You
No.
do it.
Well, I was just, the metaphor they gave was they said to consider the soul as being the lantern and the light being the light within the lantern. So the soul is a container in this metaphor. It is not perfect formless light. It is the container that can help hold and then shine the light upon the world, which works really well for me because they often talk about smudged windows. So if the lantern is dirty, the light that is flowing through the lantern is going to be distorted. But that's the metaphor they're using to consider the soul to be the lantern that holds and transmits the light.
And as
Okay.
the soul is here to fill the physical body and to have the experiences that it's having, and then the transmission of the light through that, through after the, the centering with source, that whole thing of the soul is the part that not only experiences it, but it does the forgetting and the remembering.
And ultimately, it's temporary. Ultimately,
Yes.
the soul, like the lantern, will be absorbed back into the light, back into the formless.
It's all, to me, it's all the monad. It's all God. Every bit of it, even the soul, everything. There's nothing separate from the one, nothing at all.
If all is of the divine is all.
It's all. So the soul is perhaps a unique expression of it's an individuated expression of the all, of the monad. It's
The
just,
wave.
yeah, it's just more individuated, right? It may be another whirlpool, right? That holds other
Mhm.
whirlpools, right?
Mhm.
Right. So the soul may be expressed and individuated in many bodies. There may be many bodies that share the same soul. And then all of those are the one. And then it's almost like when he said in the page before, it starts with the individual, because the individual aspect of the soul has to reconnect with itself, which it never left, but is just it's no longer individuated. It's now become more aligned, more in the same tone. That's just how I see it.
Another image that's coming up for me is something I learned from Joel Goldsmith. Joel Goldsmith says, don't ever mistake the orange tree as the supplier of oranges. So if I look at the orange tree versus an apple tree versus a peach tree, the tree and the bark and the leaves and even the fruit, they're all can be considered the soul. And then it's the life force. It's Joel calls it the infinite and invisible that flows through the expression, the temporary expression of the orange tree or the apple tree or the peach tree that provides the fruits. But it's all God. Um, but I look at the actual image of the tree as what he's calling the lantern or the soul and the life force that's flowing through it as the light in the case of the book. Does that mean something landed?
Alka, do you want to read? Do you want to continue with the reading?
I can.
Thank you.
Okay. The answer you seek are present in the upper room without your asking. Your definitions of reality, preclusive in
Is that where we are? I'm sorry, I'm lost. Okay,
are we not? I think so,
Yeah,
because we
that's
read just
no, she's correct.
okay, I'm sorry. I
no,
was
that's okay.
lost.
Where am I? Okay, your definition of reality, preclusive in many ways of the divine, have been your teacher, and the life you will live now is changed by this recognition. In the upper room, all things are made new. Now, realization, which is knowing the divine as knowing, if you prefer, is always available at this level or strata. It is something you align to. You don't make yourself know. You align to the aspect of self that is in her knowing. And the life you live in agreement to this will shift you beyond what you have thought or presupposed to be. Some of you say, I want to know this and that. Give me the answers I seek. But it is the small self who demands. The mysteries of universe, if you wish to call them that, can only be claimed by one who has aligned to the level of vibration or tone where these things are held. And held indeed they may be. The juncture you stand at, one and all, is the choice to face a higher direction. You can be moved there by a strong wind, a great wave, if you wish, that will propel you, or you may ride the wave or wind, which happens when you acquiesce to it. Do not struggle against it and say, yes, I may.
I'm curious. I almost want that whole paragraph to be read again. Something in me completely kicked me out. So I love confessing that these days. I was fully present with everything we were sharing. And almost as soon as Alka started reading this paragraph, my mind got busy with whatever it is I'm doing next. And wanting to teach Patricia how to change the language on her computer so she doesn't have to go. And should I do, like, literally something like a veil just dropped and I didn't hear a word. I heard Alka's voice, but not a word she spoke. And I'm just curious, am I the only one? You too, Lonnie?
I was sitting here, I could hear her talking. I didn't get involved someplace over there, but it just felt like I was here and she was just under me talking in a muted voice. I couldn't hear any of the words she was saying. I was here, but like just came across it.
I think
And
sometimes when, yes.
I was just like, okay, here's another weirded out situation. So thank you for sharing, Cindy.
I see that. And I started thinking about Vinnie Tolman because the paragraph before this and some of the things that Alka was reading to me were like straight out of what Vinnie Tolman said that we talked about yesterday about the different levels and how you can't, heaven might be right beside you, but until you rise to the level of vibration that it's at, you won't see it. and then also moving through dimensions like there's some kind of plasticity to them. That reminded me. So, you know what? Read it again, Alka. You want
But
to
the
read
other part of that experience right now, I'm realizing, is for each of the three of us, even for all of us, but at least the three of us that have spoken, this too is heaven.
Yeah.
In the not hearing the words and thinking about what's next, in the thinking about Tolman, in for me that line, this too is God and is heaven.
I think basically it was saying that as long as you don't resist to anything, the wave will carry you to the divine.
But I would
Yes.
love for you to read it again. Because now that I know that something pulled me out of paying attention, I believe that attention will be placed on the words differently. If you would, read it again.
Okay, I don't mind. The answer you seek are present in the upper room without your asking. Your definitions of reality, reclusive in many ways of the divine, have been your teacher, and the life you will live now is changed by this recognition. In the upper room, all things are made new. Now, realization, which is knowing, the divine as knowing, if you prefer, is always available at this level or strata. It is something you align to. You don't make yourself know, you align to the aspect of self that is in her knowing. And the life you live in agreement to this will shift you beyond what you have thought or presupposed to be. Some of you say, I want to know this and that. Give me the answers I seek. But it is the small self who demands. The mysteries of the universe, if you wish to call them that, can only be claimed by one who has aligned to the level of vibration or tone where these things are held. And held indeed they may be. The juncture you stand at, one and all, is the choice to face a higher direction. You can be moved there by a strong wind, a great wave, if you wish, that will propel you, or you may ride the wave or wind which happens when you acquiesce to it. Do not struggle against it and say, yes, I may.
Thank you. I heard every word.
I found this was a difficult paragraph, actually. There was a lot in there. And there isn't, I mean, not anymore, but before there, I always found resistance in me to things I didn't quite understand. Like he says, tell me what this means now, type of thing. And if I didn't understand something, there was resistance or whatever. And now I'm more willing to let things wash over me. And I know if I don't understand them tomorrow, today I will understand them tomorrow. So it helps.
Love that. Bye, Patricia. Wow. Well, we are at the end of the hour and 15. Any final thoughts?
I love us.
Love us. Thank you all for reading. And I feel like saying, I'll see you tomorrow, but we won't see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Monday,
I just
11:30.
I just want to say real quick, happy Halloween to every expression of the one that I'm seeing. And I look forward to seeing what expressions of Halloween are brought into my vision today. So just wanted to, I love Halloween. So yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Livy.
I love Halloween too.
Oh my God.